Welcome to NTD News Today. I'm Alice Tang. Here are our top stories. The upcoming summit between President Trump and Russian President Putin will take place Friday in Alaska. Vice President Vance says the path to peace is to have decisive leaders sit together to work out a deal. Plus, U.S. Ambassador to NATO Matthew Whitaker said it's possible Ukrainian President Zelenskyy joins the talks as well. Prime Minister Netanyahu just confirmed this morning that he is going forward with his plan to seize Gaza City. We'll speak with a Middle East affairs analyst for his insights. U.S. tariff revenue has to go somewhere. Should it go to working Americans or pay down the national debt? Our exclusive data report on whether or not a proposed $600 rebate check could be financed by tariff revenue alone. How some of our most popular healthy foods could be driving heart disease. Vital Signs' Brendan Fallon shares insights from a leading expert on heart and gut health on the phenomenon of wheat belly.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are set to meet this Friday at a summit in Alaska. Vice President J.D. Vance in a Fox News interview Sunday commenting on the upcoming meeting. He talked about Washington's stance on how to achieve a Russia-Ukraine peace deal, America's support for Ukraine, and President Trump's recent diplomatic breakthroughs.
Fundamentally, this is something where the president needs to force President Putin and President Zelenskyy really to sit down to figure out their differences. We, of course, condemn the invasion that happened. We don't like that this is where things are, but you've got to make peace here. And the only way to make peace is to sit down and talk. You can't finger point. You can't, wag your finger at somebody and say, you're wrong, we're right. The way to peace is to have a decisive leader sit down and force people to come together. To your point about weapons, what we said to the Europeans is simply, first of all, this is in your neck of the woods. This is in your back door. You guys have got to step up and take a bigger role in this thing. And if you care so much about this conflict, you should be willing to play a more direct and a more substantial way in funding this war yourself. I think the president, and I certainly think that America, we're done with the funding of the Ukraine war business. We want to bring about a peaceful settlement to this thing. We want to stop the killing. But Americans, I think, are sick of continuing to send their money, their tax dollars to this particular conflict. But if the Europeans want to step up and actually buy the weapons from American producers, we're okay with that, but we're not going to fund it ourselves anymore. I've got to give the president a huge amount of credit here, Maria, because this is a major breakthrough for American diplomacy. If you go back, this war's been going on for over 3 years at this point, well over 1 million Russians and Ukrainian dead soldiers. And as the president says, the numbers are probably much higher than the official tally indicates. There has been no substantial breakthrough. And for 6 months, the president himself, he's asked me, he's asked Secretary Rubio, of course, Steve Witkoff. We have been aggressively working, trying to break the logjam. One of the most important logjams is that Vladimir Putin said that he would never sit down with Zelenskyy, the head of Ukraine, and the president has now got that to change. We're at a point now where we're now trying to figure out, frankly, scheduling and things like that around when these three leaders could sit down and discuss an end to this conflict.
Vice President Vance also commenting on the U.S. position on Gaza. Listen in.
Fundamentally, what we're trying to accomplish for America's perspective is, number one, we want to make this so that Hamas cannot kill innocent people, Israelis, Americans, or anybody else. Number two, we want the hostages to come home. And number three, the president's been very clear that you do have a humanitarian crisis there, where you have a lot of innocent people who are really struggling, and we want to make sure that the people of Gaza are able to get food, able to get medicine, and so forth. And so we're trying to accomplish all three of those things. And what the president has said is he wants to be, again, the president of peace. He is encouraging through every diplomatic method possible a rapid end to the conflict. The hostages get to come home. The people of Gaza get a free flow of humanitarian aid. That's what we're working towards, and we're going to keep on working with our allies in the region to make that happen.
The highly anticipated meeting between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin is scheduled for next week in Alaska. But Ukraine is already drawing the red line. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy vowing Ukraine will not cede any territory to Russia as part of a potential peace deal. Trump told White House reporters on Friday that there could be a, quote, some swapping of territories to the betterment of both, unquote, as a way to end the Russian-Ukraine war. Zelenskyy said he's ready for what he called real decisions that could bring peace, but will not gift any land. The Trump-Putin meeting is scheduled for next Friday in Alaska. Coming up, U.S. tariff revenue has to go somewhere. Should it go to working Americans or pay down the national debt? Our exclusive data reporter on whether or not a proposed $600 rebate check could be financed by tariff revenue alone.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
The Design Studio by Mathis Home is where your home decorating dreams come to life, with heirloom quality pieces for every room in your house. Right now, get the lowest prices of the year on top designer brands like Hooker, Universal, and Bernhard. We're the only place with designer furniture in stock, with complimentary delivery and design services. For the latest in luxury and style, visit us now for exclusive discounts. Now through Labor Day, only at the Design Studio by Mathis Home.
Welcome back. I'm Alice Tang. Should money collected from tariffs go into your pocket or be used to pay down the national debt? President Trump has floated the idea of sending tariff dividends to low and middle income families. And a bill has been introduced in Congress to do just that. But is there enough revenue to go around? Our data reporter Kevin Hogan has more.
Here's your tariff rebate reality check. Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri proposed giving out $600 checks to eligible Americans. That would cost a lot of money because NTD estimates that about 240 million Americans would be eligible. Now, generally speaking, if you're an adult making $75,000 or less, you might be eligible. Again, that's a very rough simplification of that bill. It's pretty complicated, but each parent would get one, and every additional check would go to every dependent child. So if you make more income than that, you could qualify for a reduced check, but it tapers off pretty quickly as income increases. Now, checks of a minimum $600 could be for those 240 million people. That's a tall order, but tariffs are bringing in a lot of money. So much that monthly records for this year are being broken, like in July, for example. But how much money total would you need to back up that $600 check? That's the million-dollar question, right? So you have the checks going out to Americans in this hypothetical scenario. What do you actually need? What's that total sum? Based on our estimates, the total tariff revenue you would need is about $145 billion. That is the target. So that's these hypothetical checks. So soon we'll see if that's realistic for this year. But first, it's important to understand where that money's coming from. Are American import companies that actually have to pay the duty taking the hit, thus redistributing wealth from companies to the public? Or is tax being passed on to the American consumer? Or are exporters lowering their prices to continue accessing the American market? It might be a mixture, but it's unclear exactly who's paying. Now, that $145 billion, let's take a look at the data. So the Treasury estimates that in that particular instance, you're going to see that revenue to date from tariffs, that is up about $115 billion as of the end of July. And that total sum needed for the $600 checks is $145 billion, right? That's the target right there. So you can see the U.S. needs to make up about $30 billion more to close that gap. So before Trump's so-called Liberation Day, you could see that tariffs were only coming in maybe at about $7 billion a month. But after Liberation Day, that rate started jumping up to $28 billion a month. Remember, July, that's about a fourfold increase. So on the high end, if that rate keeps up, you can expect to see about $250 billion at the end of the year. So that's a lot of money. And what does that mean? That means that you clear this hurdle and your $600 checks are all set. So now, we don't know what's going to happen. Some trade deals have been made that reduce tariffs. So that upper bound might not really materialize. But we still have to wait and see what will happen to tariffs on imports from Canada and China, big U.S. trade partners. So that upper bound is possible. That would mean the $600 checks could easily be backed by tariff revenue, and they might even jump up to $1,000 checks, like the bill would call for in that case. So now, a slightly more realistic scenario is a medium amount of tariff revenue. That's what this would look like right here. So you're seeing about $200 billion at the end of the year. That also would cross that threshold so that your $600 checks are backed by those tariff revenues. Now remember, that's something between the pre-Liberation Day rates and that July record rate. So in that case, again, $200 million, you're past that threshold. And now, it could be possible to completely back those $600 checks with that amount. Now, those checks could even rise up to $800 each in that particular case. But what if tariffs go way down all of a sudden to pre-Liberation Day rates? That's the lower bound. This is what that would look like. So you're seeing about $147 billion in tariff revenue, just barely crossing that threshold so that all of your $600 checks would be financed by tariff revenue. So even on the lower bound, that $600 check is a realistic possibility, and no non-tariff national treasure would have to be shelled out. So now, here's what Senator Josh Hawley says about this proposal. He says, "My legislation would allow hardworking Americans to benefit from the wealth that Trump's tariffs are returning to this country." Now, if that tariff money doesn't go to those hardworking Americans, like Hawley says, it could go towards paying off the national debt. And that debt is estimated to be north of $37 trillion. That's entity's live debt clock at the moment. So we have a couple data points in the mix. Maybe it's 36.9 trillion on July 1st. Anyway, so we just say, you say, okay, if the U.S. made $200 billion from tariffs, that could shave off about 0.5% from the national debt. So now that might not seem like it's so significant, but that could make a little bit of a dent, 0.5%, right? Now, what about these checks? Is this a good idea or not? That's part of this debate. Here's what E.J. Antony, a chief economist at the Heritage Foundation, says. He acknowledges that it might be a political advantage to give out money to voters in your district, but he says when the annual deficit is over $1 trillion, the priority has to be getting that down and not giving the Treasury another outlay. So, you see, if you have a choice, you have to consider the larger debt because, again, that can cause inflation, all sorts of other problems, that invisible tax, they call it. So are you going to see a $2,400 check if you have a family of four? Among Republican senators, some who are aligned with Trump could favor it, but others are skeptical. Again, starting that large debt. Now, the Senate hadn't scheduled a vote for it as of Sunday morning, and we're expecting the Trump administration to give more details on spending related to tariffs in the weeks to come. Back to you.
Should money collected from tariffs go into your pocket or be used to pay down the national debt? President Trump has floated the idea of sending tariff dividends to low and middle income families, and a bill has been introduced in Congress to do just that. But is there enough revenue to go around? President Donald Trump.
What are your thoughts, on hearing that some Americans could get dividends? Your initial reactions?
Well, obviously it makes sense if the public accounts are in order. I think that the most pressing issue right now is the extraordinary level of the government deficit. No? And the Trump administration is taking action to reduce the deficit, to reduce government spending, to make the public accounts more sustainable, and that's the first element that needs to be addressed. Once that is addressed, and once we have, according to the latest estimates, we're talking about $7 trillion of tariff revenues throughout the next 10 years, then we can certainly discuss about the options of reducing the tax burden and obviously giving back part to the American consumer. It obviously makes sense, but certainly it's first eliminating, well, not eliminating, it's basically bringing the deficit to a sustainable level, bringing debt down, reducing government spending, and then giving back part to citizens.
Okay, do you see tariffs as a stable source of government revenue generation?
Well, it's interesting that you asked this question, because in the heated debate about tariffs, I read the other day that the European Union collected more than 28 billion euro of tariffs in the last 3 months, no? And that the European Union considers this as a key element of maintaining the fiscal stability of the union, no? So of course it is. It's like any other source of revenue for the government. But I think that what we need to understand is that tariffs have been implemented in order to provide a better environment for trade, and that it's going to be the combination not only of tariff revenues, but higher exports and lower imports. All of those things are beneficial for the U.S. economy.
Okay, let's say the first priority is taking care of, as you mentioned earlier, reducing the federal deficit of national debt, and then reducing federal spending, and then we still have money left over with these tariffs, revenue from the tariffs, and we give them to consumers. Let me ask you this question. So American importers pay for these tariffs, right? And then the revenue is given to someone else. Does this look like wealth redistribution?
Not really. American importers don't pay for the tariffs. We have seen so far, and it's now pretty evident in the inflation figures, that it's mostly the exporters and throughout the supply chain, the different elements that have overcapacity that pay for the tariffs. If there's any evidence actually of what importers are doing, is that most large importers from Whole Foods to Costco to Walmart, etc., they're actually not paying for the tariff. The second is that obviously tariffs are an element of government fiscal planning. So if the government wants to provide a certain element of relief to certain brackets of the fiscal side, that's obviously their prerogative, and they can use those revenues the same way that they can use, for example, the revenues from royalties from oil extraction or royalties from natural gas extraction. Royalties from oil extraction are paid by the exploration and production companies, and those royalties are used then to provide for services or any other type of benefit for the U.S. citizens. So obviously it is part of fiscal planning like any other.
Okay, can you elaborate on what you said, this one point that exporters pay these tariffs? So if I'm a company in China and I'm exporting to the United States, I have to pay the United States to send my product to the U.S.
Exactly. What we have seen, and there's 29 billion in July of revenues collected from tariffs, is that they're paid by the exporters. Furthermore, think about this. A lot of people say that tariffs cause inflation and that tariffs increase prices. But that makes absolutely no sense. Costs do not dictate final prices. The imputation principle coming from Karl Menger, as is a very well-known principle in economics, shows that costs don't drive final prices. It's final prices what drives costs. And one of the things that we know as well is that tariffs don't create more units of currency in the system. Therefore, they don't cause inflation. So in the debate these days, I hear a lot of times people talking about tariffs from the following principle: exporter, importer. No? Like as if the supply chain was created by two links, but it's not true. It is exporter, distributor, transport, storage, all different elements of the chain. And what's most interesting, and you know this very well because we have discussed it a few times, is that most exporters have overcapacity and working capital challenges. Therefore, for them, it is better to absorb the cost of the tariff in order to sell more and better to the United States, which is the largest and richest economy. That's why inflation and inflation expectations are not rising, because those tariffs are being gradually shared among the parts in which there's more overcapacity in the supply chain.
Okay, on the topic of inflation, I had another thought. I remember during the pandemic, right, we saw how the government was sending paychecks to households. Would this be the same thing if the government is sending dividends to households?
No, very different. In the pandemic, the government was sending paychecks to households coming from what? From issuing new currency, i.e. printing money, and increasing debt. Okay? This is the opposite. This is, you are receiving revenues, okay, coming from abroad, and those revenues are then distributed to households. So it would be the opposite. It would be not a policy of printing money to give a paycheck, but a policy of not printing money and receiving higher revenues that then are maybe utilized as a paycheck. It's a big difference, because the first one means more units of currency in the system, and that obviously was part of what created the element of inflation that we have seen in the past years. And we have to remind people that inflation is not rising prices. Inflation is the loss of purchasing power of the currency. Rising prices is a consequence of inflation, it's not inflation. So with the distribution of part of the revenues coming from tariffs to citizens, you would not be creating new units of currency, you would not be printing money, and certainly not increasing the debt, actually decreasing it. Therefore, it doesn't create inflation.
Coming up, questions about who will govern post-war Gaza emerge as Israel gears up for a takeover of the 25-mile strip. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu speaks on Israel's plan for Gaza's future.
Divinely inspired traditional oil painting inspires compassion. Artwork created in truth and beauty illuminates a path to goodness. Rediscover traditional art, revive classical culture. We warmly invite oil painters from around the world to participate in the 7th NTD International Figure Painting Competition, a celebration of classical realism. Please visit oilpainting.ntdtv.com.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality, a timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency, enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure natural power of Pure Tang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Pure Tang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers, he connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome back. I'm Alice Tang. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu giving more details on his government's plan for Gaza, stating a civil administration will replace Hamas rule. Let's watch.
Our goal is not to occupy Gaza. Our goal is to free Gaza, free it from Hamas terrorists. The war can end tomorrow if Gaza, or rather if Hamas lays down its arms and releases all the remaining hostages. Last Thursday, Israel's Security Cabinet, instructed the IDF to dismantle the 2 remaining Hamas strongholds in Gaza City and the central camps. Contrary to false claims, this is the best way to end the war and the best way to end it speedily. We will do so by first enabling the civilian population to safely leave the combat areas to designated safe zones. In these safe zones, they'll be given ample food, water, and medical care, as we've done before. Here are the tons and tons and tons of humanitarian aid that Israel led in to the Gazan side of the Kerem Shalom crossing. It's just sitting there because it's not distributed. The war can end tomorrow if Gaza, or rather if Hamas lays down its arms and releases all the remaining hostages. Gaza will be demilitarized. Israel will have overriding security responsibility. A security zone will be established on Gaza's border with Israel to prevent future terrorist incursions. A civilian administration will be established in Gaza that will seek to live in peace with Israel.
Recent polls show most Israelis want a ceasefire to bring hostages healed in Gaza home and end the war. But Prime Minister Netanyahu is going forward with his plan to seize Gaza City. His plan has also drawn rebukes from allies. Germany has halted some military exports to Israel, and over 20 Arab and Muslim nations call Israel's push into Gaza City a dangerous escalation and a flagrant violation of international law. On the ground, Hamas reports 11 more deaths from malnutrition, and the UN says most casualties are near the centers and the convoy routes and were caused by Israeli forces, a claim Israel disputes, accusing Hamas of instigating the chaos. The U.S. has been less critical, with President Donald Trump saying it's pretty much up to Israel whether to fully occupy Gaza. Joining us is David Wimser, Middle East Affairs Analyst at the Center for Security Policy. David, welcome. So just this morning, Prime Minister Netanyahu held a press conference and said, quote, "I don't want to prolong the war, I want to end the war." Will his plan to seize Gaza City achieve that goal?
Well, I think it's a first step toward achieving the goal. Alone, I don't think it will, because Hamas will continue to rule in other areas of Gaza. At the end, I think the real end only comes when Hamas is removed, and I don't see a way to do that through diplomacy mostly. I think at the end of the day, the Israelis will have to take the entire Gaza Strip. But of course, it begins with Gaza City. That's the most important city still in Hamas's hands. It's possible they may crack and they may surrender entirely, but I think at this point it's unlikely. So it's a first step, but it's not the entire remainder of the war.
So Prime Minister Netanyahu also said, Trump, like me, recognized the fact that there have been deprivations in Gaza caused by Hamas. Are these two leaders on the same page?
Yeah, I think the United States and Israel are on the same page for a number of reasons. One is, first of all, the relationship between Netanyahu and Trump is very good. The second thing is the United States sees Hamas as the obstacle for any movement forward, both in terms of resolving the hostage issue, moving toward a ceasefire, and ultimately toward ending the war and moving toward a better future for Gaza. So they share the same goals. The second thing is operationally, the United States has a structure now of distributing aid in Gaza that's been very effective, has not involved any real casualties, no murder, despite the accusations by Hamas. But these are lies, and the United States says they're lies, not just Israel. And they distribute about 1.25 million meals per day. There's 2 million Palestinians in Gaza at most. So you're talking about at least a meal a day for half the Gazans are being distributed by these 4 sites only, which is the United States. So we see our system, the American system, the GHF system of distribution, working hand in hand with the Israelis is very effective, safe, and keeps money out of Hamas's hands. By expanding the war, taking Gaza City, you increase the number of places that this distribution structure can reach. And we can go from 1 million meals a day to 2 million meals a day and 3 million meals a day fairly quickly. And then Gaza is fed without the money being siphoned off by Hamas or the food hoarded by Hamas and starving the Palestinians as a propaganda tool.
So speaking about aid, the UK just pledged another $14.1 million in relief supplies. Will this additional aid truly make an impact and reach those who need it most in Gaza? Or is it pouring into a leaking cup?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's pouring into a leaking cup, but it not only will not make the humanitarian situation in Gaza better, it will hurt it, because that food will wind up in Hamas's hands. Hamas will use it to make money. It will withhold the food and intentionally continue to starve Palestinians in Gaza for propaganda purposes. And the distribution of the food is either through trucks, many of whom wind up in violence and mobs, getting dozens of Palestinians killed, or, as you see on the screen, by airdrops. And there's been over about 24 Palestinians killed by these dropping pallets from the sky. So this is both deadly. It moves the ball away from any resolution of the conflict. It gives Hamas funds to continue to survive and fight. So it's actually highly counterproductive. And I'm sure it's good intentions, but good intentions sometimes pave the road to hell.
So David, how is this different from American aid? So why is UK's aid not effective, but American aid effective?
Because they drop it in areas where Hamas takes over. It's done through the UN structures, which are controlled by Hamas. Whereas the United States aid structure is controlled by an American organization called GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, run by Reverend Moore, a Christian organization. But the United States is operating through that, and they have a system of security that allows the food to be distributed for free to people directly, but the people are filtered so that Hamas can't quite approach. So their guys can't hold a gun to people's heads and say, collect your food, give us the food, and now you go away. It's a structure that is separated from Hamas under the security control of the Israelis and the American company. And that allows people actually to get the aid for free. Whereas the aid that's dropped or distributed in the Hamas areas not only doesn't get to them, but what is there is purchased at an exorbitant price by Palestinians, and Hamas pockets the money because it's got the food for free, and it sells it for these exorbitant rates. So that's the difference in the structure. It really depends on Israeli security control.
I see. I totally understand now. David, thank you for shedding light on this ever-evolving story. It's such a tragic thing to see and hear. We appreciate your insight.
Sure. Thanks.
Coming up, how some of our most popular healthy foods could be driving heart disease. Vital Science Brendan Fallon shares insights from a leading heart and gut health expert on the phenomenon called wheat belly.
So at the age of 5, I was sexually molested. I had my first child at the age of 15 and became homeless at the age of 16. The scariest part about not having a place to live was having a child and not having a place to live and not knowing where our meal was going to come from and where we're going to sleep. To be homeless as a teen, I didn't ask for that.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or a warm meal to eat, or whether anyone cares about them. 1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year, and that's unacceptable. But the good news is there is an organization making a big difference, Covenant House.
Call or go online now. For a gift of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love to more than 2,000 young people who sleep at a Covenant House every night.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis.
It was pretty tough. But Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today.
Call or go online right now to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month. With your monthly donation, you'll receive this soft, comforting blanket as a reminder of the warmth and safety your gift will provide a young person tonight.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life. They gave me the love that I needed. They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding.
Your $19 monthly gift is urgently needed to reach other young people who are facing unimaginable situations. Call or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
Your support makes the work of Covenant House possible. Thank you for caring.
My dad was a farmer. And when I saw him on a horse, the guy was bigger than life. One of the things that he had a hard time doing was showing the emotion. Maybe it was because the way he was raised, or believing that men provide and they don't struggle. But we all struggle. I want to show emotion to my kids, I want them to know when I'm happy, I want them to know when I'm sad, and I want them to see me working through things. The biggest reward I get from being a dad is watching my kids accomplish a goal, watching them light up. Nothing brings a bigger smile to my face. So I make my kids a priority. Whether it's hitting a baseball, a dance rehearsal, you name it, I'm there. They're gonna remember that they grew up loved. Be brave. Be there every day. And allow your kids to know that it's okay to struggle. That even dad doesn't know the answer sometimes, but we're gonna figure it out together.
As kids and teachers nationwide prepare to go back to school, one very creative superintendent in southern Indiana is about to go viral for turning hilarious pop music parodies into silly school announcements starring his students and staff. Take a look.
Everybody! It's back to school season, and for most administrators, that means prep work, planning, and oversight. But for one super creative Southern Indiana school superintendent, it also means turning school business into show business.
School is back, all right.
I tell people all the time, that I can't believe that I get to do this as a part of my job as a superintendent. My name is Mike Allen, and I am the superintendent of Evansville Christian School, but I'm also known as the parody principal.
For more than a decade in educational administration, Allen has written and produced elaborate YouTube videos performing popular song parodies to keep his students, parents, and staff informed and entertained.
I try to choose ones that are fun, that are recognizable, and that work for telling the story I'm trying to tell. Snow days, 2-hour delays.
Snow, oh, the white stuff.
Christmas breaks.
Christmas break is here.
Spring breaks.
We could really use it.
Not to mention COVID closures.
Goodbye, COVID-19. I wish I never knew you at all.
Parent-teacher meetings.
Hello, parents, my old friend.
And even winter safety.
Slippery ice, slippery ice.
It seems no school issue, or musical genre for that matter, is safe from Allen's punchy parodies. And while his videos provide this natural showman a creative outlet, Allen says the biggest reward is the engagement with his students and staff.
It's not separate from my work, it's for my work. It's a part of what I believe is part of my role, which is to encourage and inspire and affirm.
So for now, it's back to school for Superintendent Allen and back to the old drawing board for the parody principal.
I looked at the building, I was finally here to settle on in for another school year.
Welcome back to NTD. Today, I'm joined by NTD health correspondent and host of Vital Signs, Brendan Fallon. Vital Signs offers natural and nutritional ways of optimizing our health. Brendan, it's so nice to see you once again.
Always a pleasure, Alice.
So I've heard that you have some videos for us today to share. So what are they about?
Certainly. These are about a phenomenon called wheat belly that has been coined by a cardiologist I spoke to. The background to this is we have a high rate of heart disease in America, and a common thing associated with that's long been associated with that is high cholesterol. So people will have these panel tests of their cholesterol level, and to find out if they're at risk of heart disease, and often they're told to cut back on certain foods, like saturated fats, which is like butter, and often eggs, because eggs contain cholesterol. The doctor I spoke to had a different message on this. He said it's not necessarily these foods, but actually other foods we should be looking at. Here's the first clip explaining that.
Wonderful.
Well, so there's a lot of overlap in the genetics and thereby the qualities of wheat and grains. And wheat and grains share a carbohydrate called amylopectin A. It's a very uniquely and highly digestible carbohydrate that triggers the formation of small LDL particles. We have this terrible fiction being propagated all throughout the world, and that is that cholesterol, like LDL cholesterol, causes heart disease. It does not cause heart disease. It was meant to be a crude and indirect marker for the real factors that cause heart disease, such as LDL particles, but specifically small LDL particles. Because they're small, the liver doesn't recognize them. They circulate in the bloodstream for prolonged periods, unlike normal, natural, large LDL particles. Small LDL particles persist for extended periods. They're much more prone to oxidation, glycation, much more adherent to the walls of arteries, much more likely to instigate inflammation in the arteriole. Small LDL is the driving cause for heart disease, not LDL cholesterol. Why don't we hear more about it? Because the solution is nutritional. There's no pot of gold for the pharmaceutical industry, and so the sales reps don't hawk diet. They sell drugs because there are hundreds of billions of dollars at stake here. So we hear nothing about the real causes, small LDL and others. There's other causes too that have nothing to do with cholesterol. So this is a question I asked many years ago. What foods, and this science is quite well sorted out, what foods, what phenomena cause an excess of small LDL particles and thereby sudden cardiac death, heart attack, angina, need for bypass, stents? What foods cause that? Wheat, grains, and sugars, period. Not bacon, not eggs, not pork, none of those things. Wheat, grains, and sugars.
So it's wheat, grains, and sugars, not eggs.
Yeah, I guess it's a hopeful message for the people out there who really are a satisfying message for people out there who enjoy their eggs, who like the traditional bacon and eggs breakfast, which I think for many years has been kind of pointed to as a health risk. You know, if you're getting all the saturated fat from animal products like beef tallow, butter, like this has been pointed to as a major heart risk, but here we're hearing quite a different take on that.
So he said something, we're talking about wheat belly. I've only heard of beer belly. What is the difference between these two? Are they the same thing?
Well, it's interesting. You should raise that, Alice. I hadn't thought about it, but there could be a connection there. I know. Wheat is coming. Beer is coming from a plant-derived substance. They have wheat beer. Is an exclusively made beer that comes from wheat. So if wheat is having this effect, this particle that he talks about, and beer is made from that substance, then it's likely to also be contributing to obesity in people drinking it.
I see. Thank you for clarifying these two. In my mind, they are almost the same thing now.
Well, there's so many foods that kind of come under this banner. And the interesting thing is, it's these foods that are at the bottom of the food pyramid. Like these have been pushed as you've got to eat your wheats and grains. If you look at a food pyramid, these are right at the base of that. And so this is really calling that into question. I had to ask Dr. Davis, because I know he's half Japanese, I had to get his opinion on rice. Rice is a grain, so I asked him, what did he think about rice?
Oh, wow, interesting. Let's see.
So rice is also a grain, seed of a grass. So one of the fundamental problems with eating seeds of grasses that, by the way, humans did not consume for 99.6% of our time on this planet. So consuming seeds of grasses is a relatively, people think, oh, we've been doing it forever. No, we've been doing it a very brief time, speaking anthropologically. Well, the worst wheat of all, the worst grain of all is modern high-yield semi-dwarf wheat. That's 99% of all wheat now. The product of genetics research, essentially a laboratory creation. Next is traditional wheat, and then we go down the line of rye, barley, millet, etc. At the most benign end is rice. Now, we have to be careful about our thinking here. So you guys know that if something is harmful, let's say full tar, unfiltered cigarettes, and we replace it with something a little less harmful, let's say filtered low tar cigarettes, and we see some kind of a drop, let's say, in lung cancer and heart disease, but there's still a lot of it. Does that mean smoking filtered low tar cigarettes are therefore good for you? No. So over and over, you'll see that flawed thinking operating in nutrition. Replace something bad with something less bad, and there's a modest reduction in danger or increase in safety. The less bad thing must therefore be good. That's not true. That's not how logic works. Here's another area. If we replace the awful American diet with a Mediterranean diet, and there's less harm or a little bit of benefit, the Mediterranean diet must therefore be ideal. You can't say that. That is not the conclusion you can reach. So same kind of thing here. Just because rice is less harmful doesn't make it good. And the primary reason, so rice has very little protein, so we can't blame rice for all those effects that come from protein, like wheat germ agglutinin, bowel toxin, gliadin-derived opioid peptides, by the way, that drive appetite, massive appetite stimulation. That's not present to any degree in rice.
Opioid derived. Wow.
So rice doesn't have this opioid protein and wheat does? What is going on?
I know it's shocking, right? We're talking about an opioid. This is, like relatable to a narcotic. But this is largely the problem that we're seeing in America, the processed food problem, because they're taking this substance, Dr. Davis talks about this, that is in wheat, this opioid peptide. It's amazing, like something like an opioid substance in wheat, and they put it into a lot of the foods to up the addiction factor. That's why people can't stop eating a lot of junk food, a lot of snack foods. It's actually got something in there that is highly addictive and that is relatable to the narcotics that people become heavily addicted to.
Next thing you know, we'll be smoking some bread.
Who knows? Who knows what could be around the corner when we come across these kinds of realities?
I cannot believe that rice doesn't. I cannot believe, first of all, I cannot believe that wheat has opioid and rice doesn't. This is so shocking and so absurd these days that companies like food companies like these large food companies would use such a protein from wheat and use that just for this effect. This is insane.
Truly, and we need to start waking up. I think it's important we get this message out there, and it is getting out there. People are starting to realize that it's not just food anymore. It's not just something that has a mild impact on your health. It's not just a benign substance. This food is being tailored to have a very powerful effect, a very addictive effect, and we need to start looking at taking this seriously and thinking about it maybe in the league of something like a narcotic.
So he just mentioned where the Mediterranean diet is not a fix-all, is not the complete solution, just like how rice is not a complete solution to, let's say, bread. So what should we do if we cannot have both bread and rice?
Well, one thing that Dr. Davis talks about a lot is he talks about the microbiome, these colonies of protozoa, fungi, bacteria that dwell within us. There's good ones, there's bad ones. And something that really impacts the health of the microbiome is eating things like wheat. He talks about this for different reasons. It really degrades the microbiome. So part of the solution is to replenish the microbiome, and there's ways that you can get back, or you can increase the numbers of the good bacteria that many people have lost. And that's what if people want to check out this full video, he talks about this. He talks about a way to actually prepare a type of yogurt that can really increase the amount of this good bacteria in our microbiome.
Seems like there's more to this video, and it would be wonderful if we can see the full. And if you want to see the full video, check out Vital Signs interview on the risk of wheat belly. Just go to your web browser and enter the ept.ms/wheatbelly. Movie news now from superheroes to senior citizens. How are the details on the next Batman and Wonder Woman movies?
I'm vengeance.
The Batman is coming back. Warner Brothers Discovery says The Batman Part 2 is due to begin filming next spring, with a planned release date of October 1st, 2027. The company also told shareholders DC Studios co-head James Gunn is working on 2 2026 releases, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and Clayface, and the next Wonder Woman movie.
Joyce, are you a nurse? Bang on target. I'm Elizabeth. Would you take a look at that for me, please?
Dear God.
'Tis a lot of blood. Would you care to join us to discuss things further? Who is us? I'm sorry, how rude of me. We're the Thursday Murder Club.
The official trailer is out for the Thursday Murder Club. Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan, Ben Kingsley, and Celia Imrie are retirees who work on cold cases until a new murder kicks things up a notch. The Thursday Murder Club, based on the best-selling novel, debuts August 28th on Netflix.
About 300 goats roam from town to town in Spain's Catalonia region, grazing on dry shrubs as part of an EU-funded pilot project. to help reduce wildfire risks. Here's more.
Amid a symphony of tinkling bells, some 300 black, brown, and dappled goats trot along a road in Spain's Catalonia region, stopping every now and then to nibble on the dry shrubs lining the edge of a forest. The herd wandering from town to town is part of a pilot project set up in Mataró City to mitigate the risk of wildfires. Each summer, scorching heat sparks wildfires in countries across southern Europe, ravaging vast swaths of land as climate change intensifies. Despite Catalonia being in the third year of the worst drought in a century, the number of outbreaks has decreased. The regional government attributes this decline to improved fire prevention measures, of which goats are just one part. They are known for their voracious appetites, even feeding on thorny plants like cacti or thistles, making them ideal for clearing brush and other combustible materials to create natural fire breaks. At first, goat herding was just a hobby for Francesc Teixidó, who now embraces this life.
We have been hired by the Mataró City Council to graze around the strip, 25 meters around the private neighborhood. By grazing, we greatly reduce the biomass and we lower the risk of wildfires.
The shepherds are paid by individual municipalities who use their services and by cheesemakers who particularly prize milk from the roving goats. Most of the income from milk sales and the municipalities that pay for the wildfire prevention program is spent on getting better equipment. Jose Antonio Risis, Mataró's local councillor in charge of agriculture, says the project was a success and was, quote, here to stay.
Coming up, President Trump is demanding the immediate resignation of Intel CEO Lip-Bu Tan due to his alleged ties to the Chinese military. We'll speak with a China's affairs analyst right after this break.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I'm living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're gonna benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
Hey, boss. Okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
You sure?
I said I'm fine.
Since I was little, it was only like me and my parents.
You think you created family out of characters?
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna take that, make it into a song.
Put me to bed, see you in the morning. With the frosted Superman, but it wasn't on it. And we lost it. In my head, in my head, in my head. Where you at on the way out? In my head, in my head, in my head.
Hey, son.
Hey, Pop.
You can talk to me.
It's been really, really hard for me.
Welcome to NTD News Today. I'm Alice Tang. Here are our top stories. The upcoming summit between President Trump and Russian President Putin will take place Friday in Alaska. Vice President Vance says the path to peace is to have decisive leaders sit together to work out a deal. Plus, U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Matthew Whitaker, said it's possible Ukrainian President Zelenskyy joins the talks as well. President Trump is demanding the immediate resignation of Intel CEO Putin due to his alleged ties to the Chinese military. We'll speak with a China's affairs analyst.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are set to meet this Friday at a summit in Alaska. Vice President J.D. Vance, in a Fox News interview Sunday, commenting on the upcoming meeting. He talked about Washington's stance on how to achieve a Russia-Ukraine peace deal, America's support for Ukraine, and President Trump's recent diplomatic breakthroughs.
Fundamentally, this is something where the president needs to force President Putin and President Zelenskyy really to sit down to figure out their differences. We, of course, condemn the invasion that happened. We don't like that this is where things are, but you've got to make peace here. And the only way to make peace is to sit down and talk. You can't finger point. You can't, wag your finger at somebody and say, you're wrong, we're right. The way to peace is to have a decisive leader sit down and force people to come together. To your point about weapons, what we said to the Europeans is simply, first of all, this is in your neck of the woods. This is in your back door. You guys have got to step up and take a bigger role in this thing. And if you care so much about this conflict, you should be willing to play a more direct and a more substantial way in funding this war yourself. I think the president, and I certainly think that America, we're done with the funding of the Ukraine war business. We want to bring about a peaceful settlement to this thing. We want to stop the killing. But Americans, I think, are sick of continuing to send their money, their tax dollars to this particular conflict. But if the Europeans want to step up and actually buy the weapons from American producers, we're okay with that, but we're not going to fund it ourselves anymore. I've got to give the president a huge amount of credit here, Maria, because this is a major breakthrough for American diplomacy. If you go back, this war's been going on for over 3 years at this point, well over 1 million Russians and Ukrainian dead soldiers, and as the president says, the numbers are probably much higher than the official tally indicates. There has been no substantial breakthrough, and for 6 months, the president himself, he's asked me, he's asked Secretary Rubio, of course, Steve Witkoff, we have been aggressively working, trying to break the logjam. One of the most important logjams is that Vladimir Putin said that he would never sit down with Zelenskyy, the head of Ukraine, and the president has now got that to change. We're at a point now where we're now trying to figure out, frankly, scheduling and things like that around when these three leaders could sit down and discuss an end to this conflict.
The highly anticipated meeting between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin is scheduled for next week in Alaska. But Ukraine is already drawing a red line. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy vowing Ukraine will not cede any territory to Russia as part of a potential peace deal. Trump told White House reporters on Friday that there could be, quote, some swapping of territories to the betterment of both, unquote, as a way to end the Russian-Ukraine war. Zelenskyy said he is ready for what he called real decisions that could bring peace but will not gift any land. The Trump-Putin meeting is scheduled for next Friday in Alaska. A peace deal in the decades-old conflict on a declaration of Purple Heart Day. The Trump administration had been active on multiple fronts. NTD's Daniel Monahan has your week in review, starting with more details on that push for a ceasefire in the Russian-Ukraine war.
They would like to meet with me, and I'll do whatever I can to stop the killing. Trump said this week that 14,000 people died in the conflict last month alone. Tariffs on dozens of countries went into effect this week, and President Trump said more are on the way. The U.S. is planning to impose a tariff of about 100% on semiconductor chips.
But if you're building in the United States of America, there's no charge.
Apple pledged an additional $100 billion in U.S. investment this week, raising its total commitment to $600 billion.
Mr. President, thank you very much for having me here today. You've been a great advocate for American innovation and manufacturing. I'm grateful for your leadership and your commitment.
President Trump officially proclaimed August 7th as National Purple Heart Day, hosting nearly 100 Purple Heart recipients at the White House, including 3 veterans who sent their Purple Heart medals to Trump after he survived an assassination attempt.
Today we give our everlasting thanks to you and your unbelievable families.
Trump signed an executive order creating a task force for the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles.
No auto pen.
The task force will coordinate security and streamline visa processing and credentialing. Violence in D.C. was in the spotlight this week after a 19-year-old former DOJ staff member and current Trump administration employee was attacked by a gang of 10 juveniles.
A young man who was beat up by a bunch of thugs in D.C. And either they're going to straighten their act out in the terms of government and in terms of protection, or we're going to have to federalize and run it the way it's supposed to be run.
D.C. United States Attorney Jeanine Pirro says she met with Trump, who wants to ensure they fight crime with a vengeance.
Make sure that we protect the victims and we make the criminals accountable. And that's the mission of the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C.
HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced the defunding of about $500 million in mRNA vaccine projects for diseases like COVID.
As the pandemic showed us, mRNA vaccines don't perform well against viruses that infect the upper respiratory tract.
Some infectious disease experts criticized the move, saying the mRNA technology used in vaccines is safe and effective. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced a $50 million reward for information leading to the arrest of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro.
Maduro uses foreign terrorist organizations like TDA, Sinaloa, and Cartel of the Suns to bring deadly drugs and violence into our country.
President Trump continued his role as peacemaker. The leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan signed a peace deal at the White House on Friday, ending nearly 4 decades of conflict. President Trump wrote on Truth Social that the U.S. will also sign bilateral agreements with the two nations to, quote, fully unlock the potential of the South Caucasus region. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
President Trump just demanded the immediate resignation of Intel CEO Putin. Trump called him highly conflicted due to his substantial financial ties to Chinese technology firms, some of which have links to the Chinese military. His comments made on Truth Social came shortly after Senator Tom Cotton raised similar national security concerns in a letter to Intel's board. Trump's public remarks then triggered a roughly 3% drop in Intel's stock pricing. Joining us to bring us some insights is Alan Zheng, Senior Analyst of China Affairs. For those who don't know, here's Alan Zheng, and tell us, why did Putin get so involved in China's semiconductor industry, including investing in their military-related companies?
Yeah, exact reason, actually, I don't know. But I can give you the context of involvement like his. And so basically, people like him, okay, the domain expert in various fields, Chinese government has been, approaching them, befriends them, and, groom them and provide them with benefit. Okay, so these people are of great value to the Chinese Communist, government, the CCP. And, there's a group called the Committee of 100. I don't know whether you heard about that. They are made up by the influential or the successful Chinese American in various fields. Okay, and they are the prime targets of the CCP. And so what they do is, as a result, these people help the regime in various ways. Okay, and align with the party agenda and avoid criticizing the party, on anything. So that I'm not saying this in vain. Okay, a 2020 Newswork report and also a 2018 Hoover Institute study tell us that those Committee of 100 members, they are the targets of influence effort by the CCP's United Front Work Department. And the United Front Work Department is a central CCP body, okay, that focus on, targeting them and just win them over for the regime's cause. And how they do that, okay, what they do is that they approach them after building the friendship, building the trust, even building the common interest. Then they're gonna start to just tell them, you could do something great. I give you have a noble cause. Help the rise and revival of the great China in modern times. And oftentimes, in most cases, they took it in, especially for Chinese people from the Southeast Asia or from Taiwan. Okay, they don't have they did not have a motherland concept before, but the CCP gave them that idea. Okay, so in 2010 in the Silicon Valley, I have a personal experience. Okay, I ran into a Chinese American who was a VP of a major business data companies. If I tell you the name, you would know that, but let me just don't say that for now. Anyway, so he trusted me and talked to me at length and in excitement of what he did for China. He said, people like us, we cook up data and then persuade American semiconductor company to make major investment in China. He talked specifically about a high-tech industry zone in Suzhou. Suzhou is the East China. And he does not feel any ashamed when he shared those. Rather, he was in excitement. He feel very proud of it, and he feel the future of China will remember him. This is one example. Okay, I'm not saying that Mr. Tan is just somebody like this, but Mr. Tan is one member of the Committee of 100. Okay, people like him are highly esteemed. Even they're saying that back in 1989, when the Committee of 100 was set up, it was the work of the Chinese government. Okay, but anyway, so people like him, yes, they were won over, basically won over. And then they went over there, they cook up data to persuade and, American companies, industries to move over there to take advantage, quote unquote, take advantage of this great, potential for, American investment. So this has been happening for 2 to 3 decades.
So I want to understand a bit more clear. Part of this top 100 group that the CCP is targeting, what commonalities do they have? Are they nationally? Are they born in America and nationally Chinese?
They are. Okay. Yes. They are born in America. No, not necessarily. They are successful Chinese Americans in America in various fields. Okay. Semiconductor, architecture, art, and various kind. Basically the top Chinese American in this country. They collect them together. They probably cannot win them all over. Okay. But they convince enough. Those are the prime target of the Chinese government. Okay. They groom them, befriend them. And then they are not necessarily actually born in America. Actually, most of them are not. That's why they can reach out to them. If somebody is born here, grew up in this country, does not have interaction or even interest to interact with China or the Chinese government closely, then they have a lesser chance. But for first generation Chinese American, they're very prone to their influence.
So if this is the case that Tan could be part of this top 100 that the CCP is targeting, can we still trust what Tan says when he says that he shares Trump's commitment to advancing U.S. security?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. I personally cannot say specifically about him without my own investigative reporting, but what I can say is this. Okay, for people like those people, okay, not just Committee of 100. There are, just a senior, technologists in Silicon Valley. Now if you go to Google, go to Meta, go to, like a Grok, you're sitting in the room, okay, a development room. 80-90% of them are Chinese. Sometimes 100. They're just speaking Chinese in Silicon Valley. I came from Silicon Valley, okay, and then they are also the targets of Chinese government, because they are basically most of them they are first generation Chinese American. They got a family relative in China, They need to go back to China. They need to do business with China. So it's very easy for the Chinese government to reach out and get a hold of them. If they don't have good value system, they could fall. They would fall in the trap that they set up. So the problem is much bigger than Mr. Tan. I would say Mr. Tan is only one example. Okay, there's basically I would say even a generation of technologists, Chinese American professionals in the technology. They are prone to such influence and to such trap. So what I would say is this: okay, we need to grow. How to say? One thing that we can do is what you are doing. Okay, grow America-based Chinese media, even especially Chinese American media, to really inform them and educate them. Give them the right value system. They need to be loyal to this country that they are living in. Okay, don't fall into the trap of the Chinese government. But our government, I'm talking about the United States, I think is not necessarily even aware of such problem, let alone finding a solution to them. But there are solutions. The solution has to be found. We need to reach out to those people ourselves. While they are young, they're still growing in the high-tech company, they are not that experienced yet, they are not the owner or the heavyweight in the AI field, which will decide on the future of our world. And for such people, we need to, take care of them, give them the right value system before they fall into their trap. So this is the importance of the Chinese language media, and also media like yours. We have to do the job, and then win them over to the right side.
This is such a good warning that we all need a good, solid value system in case something like this happens to just us. You can never know. So the last question I want to ask you is that if Intel CEO does step down, so what message does that send to the other U.S. companies and businesses who does have ties to China?
Yeah, if he has to step down, I think it's a positive thing. Okay, it sends a clear warning to all the other companies that they need to be watch out for it, especially for those, we're talking about thousands of Chinese high-tech professionals who are on the path of Mr. Tan. They're growing to be, more important position. They're gonna found their own companies. They are all very intelligent. They are all very hardworking, and they become very experienced now. They are very valuable to this country. Okay, that's why they become target. Okay, I don't think Intel should let Mr. Tan stay on there. Okay, he's too much, interwoven in this, all kinds of network in China. So I think for the national security purpose, he should step down, and which will send a clear message to across the board to all the other high tech, but not just high tech, all the field that Chinese government, CCP is interested in. And again, I think the fundamental solution is to give the right value system to Chinese American here, first generation. Oftentimes they came here for good, better life. They do not came here for some noble cause. Some of them do, but most of them came here for a good life. And then, Chinese government, they'll tell them first, I give you a noble cause, help with the revival of China. Second, you're going to benefit. You're going to be rewarded tremendously. So it's easy for them to fall into that trap. But if the United States of America, if the media are vigilant enough, diligent enough, we can win them over. Okay, because everybody loves freedom.
Oh, what a terrible fall from grace, and such a good warning to all of us. Alan Zheng, thank you so much for shedding light on this topic. We really appreciate your time.
Sure, thank you.
Zooming in on China, a tariff extension might be coming, and concerns over tech and security are rising. Plus, travel warnings are back, and critical U.S. supply chains are still under pressure. Starting off, President Donald Trump's tariffs deadline on China could get another extension about 90 days after August 12th. Both Washington and Beijing are open to the extension, but President Trump is hinting there could still be more hikes ahead, pointing to India's tariff jump from 25% to 50% for its Russian oil purchases as a warning of what Beijing might face next. And staying on China, lawmakers in Washington are taking aim at one of the nation's biggest tech players. A group of Republican senators wants the Commerce Department to investigate DeepSeek AI. They're worried its open source design could be used for espionage, propaganda, or even bioweapons instructions. The Trump administration has looked at banning it earlier this year, while lawmakers say locking it down is key to keeping pace with Beijing. If you're thinking about traveling to China anytime soon, there's a new health alert you should know about. The CDC is advising enhanced precautions after more than 7,000 cases of mosquito-borne chikungunya were reported in Guangdong province since June. There's no treatment at the moment, and symptoms can last for months. On top of that, pregnant women are urged to reconsider travel. Taiwan has already confirmed its first imported case from southern China. Some areas in China are even reviving COVID-style restrictions, from week-long quarantines to fines for people who refuse testing. And while travel is being hit, America's defense industry is feeling its own kind of squeeze. Even with a trade truce, U.S. defense firms are still struggling as China tightens control over critical rare earth minerals like gallium, germanium, and antimony. These are essential for missiles, fighter jets, and drones, and Beijing supplies about 90% of the world's rare earths. Finding other sources could take years, and analysts say that leaves the Pentagon with a major vulnerability. Lastly, another crisis unfolding in China. Severe flooding across the country is putting millions at risk. Beijing has hit for nearly 2 weeks straight. Now, as the rain shifts towards central China, Gansu province, at least 10 people have died and thousands remain trapped. But the true toll could be much higher. Beijing's public security department has issued new rules censoring videos and local reports from the flood zones. Several people have reportedly been arrested for sharing footage.
£6 prescription glasses from Select Specs are always great value. There are no offer codes or first-time customers only. Anyone can buy them, anytime. And you can upgrade to Select Specs Express for next day delivery. And with deferred payment, you can spread the cost.
See now, pay later with Select Specs £6 specs. Next day delivery and deferred payment options available at selectspecs.com/£6.
Is deep sea fish oil really healthy? Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3. Eat 2 a day and you'll feel brand new.
I didn't ask to lose my mother or to be abused at 5 years old. I didn't ask to be kicked out of my house with nowhere to go.
I'm so sorry.
I didn't ask for any of this. But I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there. Thanks to their love and support, and to generous people like you, I got what I needed to take control of my life.
For the young people who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations, Covenant House is there providing safety, hope, and a brighter future. Call or go online now. For a gift of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love to more than 2,000 young people who sleep at a Covenant House every night. 1 in 10 young adults will experience homelessness this year. Your gift can help reach them when they need it most.
I didn't ask for my parents and my family to disown me. I didn't ask to end up in a homeless shelter. The beauty of it all is that I found Covenant House.
The need is overwhelming, but your monthly support will make sure no young person is ever turned away. Call or go online right now to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month. With your monthly donation, you'll receive this soft, comforting blanket as a reminder of the warmth and safety your gift will provide a young person tonight.
Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today. If there's no Covenant House,
where would I be today?
Your monthly gift is urgently needed to reach young people in communities like yours who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations. Show them they're loved and not alone. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
Welcome back. Civil unrest warrants have been issued for Texas Democrat lawmakers who left the state amidst a congressional redistricting fight. NTD's Don Ma discussed this issue with Tony Kennett, national correspondent for The Daily Signal and host of the Tony Kennett Cast, radio show and podcast.
Well, first of all, this is not new. So gerrymandering is something that's over 200 years old in this country. State legislatures. This was originally one of the measures that the state legislature was given to check the House of Representatives. They are allowed to, in their state or Commonwealth constitutions, design the congressional maps for their district. Now, the Supreme Court does, in fact, have the ability to overrule those particular maps if, for example, like in Texas, some of those districts are drawn up via racial lines, which is not allowed. That is a civil rights violation. You can't say, well, the black people live here, so they get their own district, or we're going to try to cordon off their votes. That's one of the things that Texas is, according to the representation in the legislature, trying to resolve. And again, you can make arguments as to whether or not that's political gerrymandering. It's a very old institution. So is the arrest warrants for legislators who, instead of just voting no on bills, running out of the state to break quorum. And not just from Republicans issuing warrants for Democrats. We saw this in Oregon in 2019 in reverse. We saw Republican lawmakers in Oregon state legislature flee to Idaho so that they didn't have to go into quorum on a state legislation for ending carbon emissions by 2050. And it didn't work. The Oregon State Police issued arrest warrants. And then when the legislators were brought back, they were asked to pay a small fine. And that's what's really being seen here. Now, the Texas Democrats did, many of them, accept a $35,000 private jet ride to Chicago, which is where Governor Abbott's Class 2 felony bribery charges are being investigated.
So, Tony, both sides of the issue are saying they have the moral high ground. I'm wondering, maybe both sides have a point to a certain degree.
I don't think that moral high ground and politics typically go hand in hand. It's just politics. I don't think it's nefarious, but state legislatures in power redistrict maps in order to benefit their party. It is a tale as old as time for every single state. And though Texas is on the screen right now and the map would be theoretically turning more Republican or more competitive for Republicans, the irony of Texas Democrats fleeing to Illinois, the most gerrymandered state in the country, who 2/3 of the state is split between 3 House districts. The southern 2/3 of the state is essentially a Croatia shaped letter C of a district around the stripe that goes up from the border of St. Louis up through Springfield to make a Democrat district. And then 1 congressional seat is allotted to 1/3 of the state. Gerrymandering happens everywhere, so no side really has a moral high ground. And I do think it's interesting watching California, Illinois, and New York, who are already a little too gerrymandered, as the New York Times pointed out, to make it any worse, before the Supreme Court would step in and say, you actually can't make your state electoral map look like spaghetti to levy all of the districts in one fashion.
So how do you think this is going to play out? As we've seen earlier, some Democrats, it seems like, would rather be arrested than return.
I mean, some of them will end up having to return anyway, because it looks like the Texas Supreme Court might rule in Governor Abbott's favor that, yeah, I mean, if you don't show up for your job, then you are abdicating your role as legislator. If I served in the Indiana House, for example, and I left to spend a couple of weeks in Texas mid-session, then the Indiana governor does have the authority to essentially remove me from my seat, barring some kind of a medical condition or something like that that may have been made. The Indiana Speaker of the House, for example, could make an excuse for me. But according to the Indiana Constitution, I could be removed if I don't show up for work. And in Texas, the Constitution is a little bit more ambiguous on this front, which is why Abbott's going to the Supreme Court. So they'll act as the Soviets, triumphantly retreating from Afghanistan. And we'll see this. Again, this group of Texas Democrats has actually done this before. Like the same crew, like Gene Wu has fled the state before. So I think that they'll just come back with their tails between their legs like they have previously.
How do you think the American people views this drama, if you will? Does it put more trust, or maybe that's not the right question, but how or less trust, how do Americans view this?
Well, I think that you used the right word, drama. I mean, I remember as a middle school science teacher, I'd have students bickering about the most silly of things, and this is one of them. The Texan state legislature does in fact have the majority for Republicans. You know, you can see Democrat Representative Jasmine Crockett trying to claim on the national stage that Abbott is a terrible, mean, corrupt man who's ignoring the quote unquote majority minority state. But according to all of the polls in Texas, Republicans do have the support of the majority of not just, as maybe Jasmine Crockett would say, white Texans, but also Hispanic Texans as well. So if we're looking at the current situation in that state, it's ridiculous to suggest that people's rights are being violated. Americans likely just see this as political theater. And as for the hyping up about gerrymandering, again, it just takes looking at a couple of other states in the country to know that this is a tale as old as time.
Okay, and the Democrats are saying that they're doing this for their constituents. But if Americans view this as a drama, maybe perhaps they don't really think that their motive is what they actually say.
I mean, come on, Don. When's the last time that you heard your congressman say, I'm doing this for my constituents? And you got a warm place right behind that nice blue tie and thought, wow, he's talking about me. I don't care whether it's a Republican, Democrat, independent. Come on, politicians in Congress, there's a reason they are the least favored organization in the United States. And it's because everything in politics is performative theater. Too many times these days, people want my job, so they get elected to be on camera. Some of us actually have to do the media broadcasting and journalistic work to get people to watch what we do, not win an election in some forlorn district.
Okay, Tony, there's another issue that I want to talk to you about, and that is the Department of Homeland Security is no longer explicitly denying relief for boycotts targeting Israel, but they've confirmed that it's going to still enforce the law, right, to move against moves to boycott or sanction Israel or Israeli firms. Why was this change to the document made?
So I think there was a little more clarification on what the federal law already states. So according to U.S. Code CFR 760, prohibits any kind of state actions on targeted boycotts. So for example, here in the state of Indiana, where I'm out of, we can't say we're boycotting Japan. We can't take bribes from, say, some type of regime to act in our own interest of Hoosiers and at the spite of the federal government. No, we fought two wars. Actually, the reason the Articles of Confederation were thrown out in favor of the U.S. Constitution, one of many, was that states were negotiating their own foreign policy. That's a no-no. For those of you who enjoy the musical Hamilton, you get a very abbreviated version of why some things are centralized. So this is a very weird issue I'm seeing online. People are bickering about this. Oh, this is against Americans' interest if aid is withheld. No, it's already federal law. The state of Washington can't decide tomorrow to boycott Israel. It's illegal. No, you send senators, you send representatives to Congress, and they, with the executive branch, determine U.S. foreign policy. This isn't something that a single state or U.S. territory gets to determine. Now, why the DHS has changed certain language, I think maybe it was unnecessary and maybe causing a bit more PR drama than perhaps might be necessary. Like saying, well, you know, not only is murder illegal, but also gun violence is illegal. Well, yeah, but that's a hat on a hat. It just seems perhaps a bit, what's the word I'm looking for here? Pedantic at that point.
Well, all right, Tony, I think we got to leave it there for today. Hopefully Mike will be back next week. Fingers crossed, but thank you so much.
Take care. I really appreciate you, Don.
All right.
Coming up, both the American Heart Association and Make America Healthy Again Commission advise against the consumption of ultra-processed foods. Data revealed children get 62 of their total calories from these. A registered dietitian and nutritionist breaks it down for us.
With almost 4 decades in the spotlight, Cindy Crawford has never lost her stunning glow. With her gorgeous, age-defying skin, US Weekly says, whatever she's doing, it's clearly working. How does her skin still look firm, smooth, and youthful at 59? It's Meaningful Beauty. And now with new advanced formulas, it's better than ever, delivering our age-defying ingredients even deeper into the skin to fight wrinkles where they begin. Just wait until you see the difference Meaningful Beauty can make for you.
Instant hydration, instant plumping. My skin looks amazing.
What I'm most proud of is over 5 million women have trusted Meaningful Beauty, and they're getting great results. And I get that feedback from them in airports, supermarkets, walking down the street, and I love it.
And today, we are celebrating 20 years of Meaningful Beauty with a brand new offer you don't want to miss. You can get the entire advanced Meaningful Beauty system with all 5 age-defying super treatments. And when you order today, you'll receive our Targeted Treatment Duo, a $128 value free. Introducing the Wrinkle Smoothing Capsules to target crow's feet, forehead lines, and lines around your mouth. Plus, you'll also get the new Skin Renewing Facial Tool with heat, massage, and red light to boost the absorption of the wrinkle smoothing capsules and reduce the appearance of puffiness. The Skin Renewing Facial Tool and the Wrinkle Smoothing Capsules together create Meaningful Beauty's amazing targeted treatment duo.
This plus this equals incredible results.
Get all this, a $300 value for just $49.95. But you must act quickly. Results guaranteed or your money back.
If you haven't tried Meaningful Beauty yet, this new offer is something you don't want to miss.
This special offer is not available in any store, so don't wait. Scan the code, call the number below, or go to meaningfulbeauty.com right now.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. We'd never make a separate dinner. And never do that. We'd never let them sleep in our room. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris. Okay, well, I'm not at my desk right now.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Welcome back. I'm Alice Tang. New data just released Thursday by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found Americans over the age of 1 get 55% of their daily calories from ultra-processed food. That number jumped to 62% for children between 1 and 18 years old. Both the new scientific advisory statement from the American Heart Association, or AHA, and the Make America Healthy Again, or MAHA Commission report advise against the consumption of ultra-processed foods. And the AHA assigns ultra-processed foods into one of 3 categories: healthy, moderately healthy, and least healthy. Joining us now to discuss is registered dietitian and nutritionist Cindy Kane Phillips. So Cindy, why did the AHA make the distinction between healthy, moderately healthy, and least healthy ultra-processed foods? If what I understand is if they are under, sorry, yes, please.
Go ahead, finish your question.
Yeah, I don't understand this distinction, because if they are all considered ultra-processed and under this one flag, shouldn't they all be considered unhealthy and to be avoided at all cost?
Well, first of all, Alice, I'm so happy to be here. Yes, I can see that if you're confused, think about the parents at home trying to keep the family healthy with 2 reports coming out back to back. Look, it is overdue to discuss avoiding and reducing ultra-processed food. But the idea of maintaining a list of healthy ultra-processed food is missing the point, in my opinion. I think we're better off focusing on building your diet around whole, minimally processed food and shop mindfully at the grocery store. Look, let me share a few numbers with you. You mentioned earlier that 2/3 of the diet for young children come from ultra-processed food. And 1 in 3 children now live with one or more chronic diseases. That is something that we never heard of. So these numbers tell a story, and that is that our families are relying on ultra-processed food in feeding our families. So that is something that we need to be cognitive about. So the idea of having 3 categories of not so healthy, medium healthy, or healthier ultra-processed food, I don't think is very, very helpful. Because look, I do understand the intention of it because, we live in a modern society. It is not practical to expect us to mill our own flour and make our own bread, right? Or make our own tomato sauce. But everything is in context, right? So compared to whole, minimally processed food, you're right, you made the point, is all processed food are unhealthy. But compared to not eating, yes, eating, even having some moderately processed food on a dinner table is better than not having it. So I think just being a little bit more mindful at the grocery store, that you can make better choices for your family.
So speaking of being a little bit more mindful, so as you just said, so like for us, like you and I, if we want to eat less processed, ultra-processed foods, like what can we do today, right now?
Go when you shop, turn the package around. Don't pay attention to the front of the package. That's covered with many different buzzwords on health claim. Turn it around, and the story is in the list of ingredients and also in the nutrition label. Look, if you're comparing to the list that is shorter is better. And also another thing I want you to look at is look at package with the least amount or no added sugar. Now, why do I point out added sugar? Alice, did you know that 3/4 of packaged foods that you buy at the grocery store have added sugar? That means sugar that is added in the processing and not as part of the natural form of the food. And why does it matter? Because added sugar has been linked to chronic diseases like obesity, type 2 diabetes, and non-alcoholic fatty liver. That is a liver disease. That is something that we never heard of, that children having them. But now doctors say they're seeing more and more of non-alcoholic fatty liver in children. So that is why we want to see that when 2/3 of the diet come from for children come from ultra-processed food, you really want to choose the package that has the least amount of added sugar.
So I totally understand now. If we look at the back of the package, and as long as there's not a lot of ingredients, the less ingredients, the better, and watch out for added sugar.
Yes. Now, I see a lot of mistake. This one mistake that I see a lot of people make, and it's called a halo effect. When they look at a food package, they see claims that says heart healthy or organic, GMO-free. Now, that is a separate discussion, but that doesn't mean that the packaged food is good for you. So a box of Cheerio that says heart healthy on the front, that is still full of refined carbohydrates and also can be high in sugar as well. An organic bag of potato chip is still a bag of potato chip. So flip the package around and look at the ingredient list and choose the package that has fewer ingredients and also lower added sugar, less salt, less processed fat. And I said, look at the nutrition label. That tells the real story.
Wonderful. Thank you, Cindy, for coming onto our show. And it's so nice to have you here today to tell us and explain to us all these things about ultra-processed foods. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
Thank you for having me, Alice.
Take care.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I'm living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're gonna benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
That first time seeing my son, I feel like my life did a 180. I was already trying to change my perspective of life and really just be a father figure that I never had. Being present is the most important part. I'm still growing every day, becoming a better version of myself, to be the better mirror for my son. I mean, he's just growing. He's becoming his own person. Man, first I saw him dance, bro, he brings the vibes, you know what I'm saying? He brings the party no matter what. He really a definition of like why he loves somebody. And I love him to the death of me.
Welcome back. An American Eagle advertisement featuring a popular actress sparked backlash. And the controversy only intensified as more people, including the president, weighed in on social media. Stephanie Cox and Carrie Dunst broke it down with NTD News contributor Mike Leon, host of the podcast Can We Please Talk?
Great to see you in person, first of all. Normally we're doing this while you're at your home in Florida, but before we get to the marketing and the political and cultural aspects of this, if you could, for our viewers, just quickly kind of bring everybody up to speed, because it seems like every day this saga is evolving like under our feet.
Well, first off, for a lot of people that don't know this happened like last year where Sydney Sweeney, I guess, had like a party. Her family threw a party and some folks wore Make America Great hats, not her. And so she got a lot of flack from that, from different fans. So this is kind of almost a carryover. So I think this is why you're kind of seeing a snowball effect, because it's tying around, and we'll get into the good genes, but it's tying around potentially President Trump weighing in, as you saw. So I think everyone's kind of making that all into one big ball. But where we are now is, look, American Eagle posted an ad. They did this ad with Sydney Sweeney. We're going to get into the layers of what it does from an ad campaign strategy. The agency is going to create something. We're going to spark some controversy. We're going to sell some jeans, which we've seen their stock price go up recently. And she's gotten a lot of heat because there's a certain connotation associated with jeans and jeans, J-E-A-N-S. I'm misspelling that, and jeans. But it's made the rage. And look, American Eagle set out to get people talking about it, and we're devoting a segment to talking about it. So
Right.
they mission accomplished for that.
And yet they really didn't put
funds into it. They posted the video, or not much in the way of funds. They just posted that video to social media.
Yeah.
What does that tell you about, the leverage that they're getting here?
Steph, that's a great question, because not only that is like, I know friends that are in that space where, look, all you got to do is turn on your camera. We all have it with us. Just turn on your camera, shoot it, send it out there. And this is a perfect example of, and I think the way people are starting to reframe their marketing budgets, we don't have to spend too much to promote it, and it can get legs. Now, yes, look, Sydney Sweeney, she's a big actress. She's been in a lot of movies. She's been in popular HBO shows. So she's a known face and commodity. But we're seeing, there's even a Dunkin' Donuts campaign that has caught some ire, and we're seeing that start to get legs, and nobody knows who the person is as the main actor in that campaign. So this is the new age and world that we live in. Throw something up on TikTok, Twitch. Look, I'm a byproduct of that. I'm a podcaster that none of you heard of 5 years ago, and here I am in studio talking about some of this stuff. So this is the way 2025 is, and this is the way the technology space is now, where you can just upload things, you can shoot it high quality, you don't have to spend too much money, and boom, away you go. You add to the discourse and get people talking about your brand or product.
And of course, you and I do not know the actor in that Dunkin' Donuts ad, but my wife and daughter definitely know him, because he's in The Summer I Turned Pretty, apparently, which is a hit on Amazon,
idea what that is,
which is not marketed to us at all, that show.
No.
But, when you think of the timing, every kid, high school, college, even middle school, they're buying jeans for back to school.
Right.
They're getting all this earned media. The stock is up, but mostly probably on speculation. Is there potentially a risk that they may have alienated some either children or the parents of those children who are going to be buying those back to school clothes, and they're going to say, you know what? I don't want to buy American Eagle now. What is the risk and return of something like this?
Well, and again, great question, because you said it exactly in the CNBC article that I was reading prior, mentioned this. The stock price, like you said, it's up, but that's up futures. But then there's also what's going to happen after the quarters report back, right? Like, you do potentially alienate a base of folks. American Eagle jeans are not made for you and I, Carrie. I don't think I'm out of the age demo where I'm buying American Eagle jeans. So but I'm already not included in that marketing campaign, right? When you bring in a Sydney Sweeney, you know you're bringing in an 18 to 35 demo, right? You know that you're bringing in female, and the campaign was driven towards females and jeans. So like you said, you never want to truly polarize your audience with respect to that. This kind of danced the line, because you have to look up what the connotation and association is between jeans and jeans. A lot of people don't know that on the surface. I can show you countless texts of friends of mine. They're like, hey, I don't get it. What's the big deal with it, right? Is the cancel culture card being pulled too early? So I think as the consumers right now, it really is all about the price point, right? So the first goal is to get the customers in there. And Sydney Sweeney brings that attractive face. She's got good genes, obviously. Use whichever one you want there in that regard. But she can bring in those folks that follow her. She has an accumulated audience in the millions across social, like we were just talking about before. They leverage that. You do run the risk, but again, you run the risk of, I think, smarter people that understand jeans that would then immediately say American Eagle no longer. And I think that's just a little bit too far of a leap, but we'll see what their quarter earnings look like.
Is this the inverse of choosing Colin Kaepernick in someone who took a knee for Nike, saying, you know what, the people who don't like Colin Kaepernick or don't like that he took a knee probably aren't spending $120 on a Nike hoodie anyway? Is this the inverse? Are we seeing, with Trump jumping into the mix, lauding the ad, attacking Jaguar and Bud Light for going woke, going broke, even saying Taylor Swift took a little hit from her Super Bowl performance, whether or not that's true or not. Are we seeing the inverse of this trend now? Are the closet conservatives sort of coming out, and it's okay now in Hollywood and Adland to be a conservative?
Look, first off, we live in the land of the free, home of the brave, right? So I think all of this is silly. And when I say silly, I mean in the context of these are human beings at the end of the day. If Sydney Sweeney wants to support Donald Trump, that's her right. As is my right to not watch a show. I don't feel this way, but my right to not watch a show that she's starring in because of her political views. It's very tough to disassociate art from the artist. Like, it's 2025 now. There are people that can look me up. They may not like my political views, which is why I tend to dance that middle line there, Carrie, right? Don't want to alienate everybody.
Well.
I take
You
my
do a
own advice.
great job.
But it's true, though, like, these are human beings. So as we just talked about, it's social media. All of them have millions of followers. They know when they're going to post something and whether or not it's going to get a directional response in either direction. So the Colin Kaepernick stuff, Kid Rock shooting Bud Light cans in his backyard, while I think it's all silly, it's within their right to do those things, just as it's within your right to not buy that Kid Rock CD or not support Nike if you feel like Colin Kaepernick has gone too far, even though I think he's over-explained, as he did with Nate Breyer. You remember the Seahawks long punter. This conversation is flying over. Steph said we're mentioning too many sports references. Sorry, Steph. But he met with a Green Beret basically to talk about what's the best way to honor folks without, making too big of a stink. And apparently taking a knee was too big of a stink. So it's your right to support and approve something, just like it's their right. They're human beings at the end of the day. They can make the choices they want to make. And, we can live with that.
It's a fascinating conversation. It blends marketing, business, stock market with culture and art, as you say. Really appreciate you joining us in the studio. Always a pleasure. Mike Leon, host of the Can We Please Talk podcast and an NTD News contributor. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Steph.
Movie news now. From superheroes to senior citizens, here are the details on the next Batman and Wonder Woman movies.
I'm vengeance.
The Batman is coming back. Warner Brothers Discovery says The Batman Part 2 is due to begin filming next spring, with a planned release date of October 1st, 2027. The company also told shareholders DC Studios co-head James Gunn is working on 2 2026 releases, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and Clayface, and the next Wonder Woman movie.
Joyce, are you a nurse? Bang on target. I'm Elizabeth. Would you take a look at that for me, please?
Dear God.
'Tis a lot of blood. Would you care to join us to discuss things further? Who is us? I'm sorry, how rude of me. We're the Thursday Murder Club.
The official trailer is out for the Thursday Murder Club. Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan, Ben Kingsley, and Celia Imrie are retirees who work on cold cases until a new murder kicks things up a notch. The Thursday Murder Club, based on the best-selling novel, debuts August 28th on Netflix.
That's all for today's news. Thank you for tuning in. Stay with us for NTD Evening News at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific.